Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels. Occasionally, I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude. Thought I'd do something a little bit different today. This is from Top Trending, and this is people who celebrated too early. I love watching these. People, they think they've won the race or whatever, and getting a little carried away, getting a little too cocky. Let's check this out.
Picture the scene. You're competing, you've worked hard to be at the top of your game. You're doing great. Maybe you're leading into the last corner or a couple of seconds from a perfect score. The emotions start to get the better of you. You begin to celebrate. And then it all goes wrong. Even in professional sport, it happens. It's human nature, after all, to anticipate. But it can be so embarrassing and provoke such a sense of loss. Here are 15 examples of where celebrations came at what turned out to be very much the wrong time. Not the biggest mistake, perhaps, but an entertaining one. Racing the Freeze is an interactive between-innings event for fans at Atlanta Braves baseball, which sees selected fans run against Nigel Talton, a member of the Braves ground crew who also happens to be a former college sprinter. Talton doesn't lose a lot. Whichever fan faces the man dressed as a character from The Incredibles gets a nice big head start and a chance to win a prize worth $100. Not a huge prize, but worth a 30-second sprint. The promotion's become popular enough that it's a regular talking point. This particular fan took off around the outfield at a decent pace, and while it looked like the Freeze was going to pip him at the post anyway, there's something just a little bit life-affirming about this attempt to pump up the crowd, only to tumble just before the line. We could probably live with losing to the Freeze, but what about losing an Olympic bronze medal? During the dying seconds of the 65kg wrestling category bronze bout at the Rio Olympics in 2016, Gunzarijin Manduknaran appeared to have secured a victory over Uzbekistan's Ikhtior Navruzarov, leading 7-6 with time running out. With just 5 seconds left on the clock, Manduknaran pumped his arms in celebration, moving away from his opponent. Unfortunately for him, refusing to engage your opponent in wrestling can be punishable with a penalty point. That point was duly awarded, leveling the scores, with a penalty point also costing him the contest. As a tie under Olympic rules, the win is awarded to the last person to score. To add to the drama, the two Mongolian coaches, after arguing with the judges, proceeded to tear off some of their clothes and throw them to the floor, for which a further penalty point was awarded to Navruzov. Manduknaran has 2 World Championship medals, but has yet to have the chance to return to the Olympics. His coaches got lengthy bans. It would be fairly unusual to celebrate a point too early in tennis, given the amount of time typically involved in watching a winner, and it usually being obvious if your opponent has a reasonable chance of returning it. That didn't stop Frances Tiafoe from celebrating and heading for his towel in a match he was fairly comfortably losing to Daniil Medvedev in the City Open in Washington, D.C. in 2020. With Tiafoe having played what looked like a likely winner, he charged off to the side of the court in celebration, while the pacey Medvedev tracked down his shot and delicately sliced a gentle return back into the empty court. Tiafoe could have used the points too. He lost the remaining 2 games and the match in straight sets. It's not just sport that can bring out these premature moments of joy. In MasterChef, there are many occasions where the judges, including the notoriously spiky Gordon Ramsay, taste only the dishes they are most impressed with, something of a convention on the series. On one particular occasion early in the competition, Ramsay and the rest of the judging team called up 3 delighted contestants and their food to the front of the kitchen and told them their food had stood out. Typical of Ramsay, he quickly twisted the situation into something a little bit more niggly though, announcing that the dishes stood out because they had prepared, in his view, the 3 worst dishes. So much for that joy.
That's just wrong. Got their hopes all up and they was all happy. Wow.
Imagine you're over 13 hours into an Ironman triathlon at Lake Placid, and the finishing line is in sight. You're not going to win. Some winning times for the marathon, which is a 112-mile bike ride and a 2.4-mile swim, can be under 8 hours, but it's still a huge achievement. Lots of people can't get anywhere near finishing. As you cross over the red carpet and approach the finishing posts, you pull a giant star jump in celebration of your big day's racing. Then cramp hits your calves and you collapse to the ground and have to be helped up to cross the finish line from a couple of meters away, becoming a GIF entitled Regret in the process. We hope they gave this guy his medal anyway.
Can you imagine?
At the World.
Can you imagine after running 112 or biking 112 miles and all that running and everything, how much your muscles would be cramping up? A leg cramp is like the worst for me. I never get them in my calves anymore. I used to get them in my calves all the time. Now I get them back in my thigh, behind the upper part of my leg. And that hurts worse than the calf, in my opinion. So bad. I haven't had one in a long time because I've been drinking a lot of water with like the little powdery stuff you put in there for flavor. But I drink a lot of water every day, so I haven't been getting the leg cramps like I was.
World Championships Athletics 10,000 meters in Beijing in 2015, American Molly Huddle was heading for an unlikely third place in a discipline long dominated by athletes who spend their lives at altitude in sub-Saharan Africa. A meter from the end, Huddle fails to see fellow American Emily Infeld nipping up the inside of the track, and just as Infeld draws level, Huddle raises her arms in celebration, slowing up in the process and handing Infeld the win by inches. She has this once-in-a-lifetime moment. "I feel like it slipped through my fingers," Huddle said afterwards. The Rhode Island athlete has not won a major international championship medal to this day.
That's just too bad.
You're in the final two corners of a motorcycle race and coming down a hill, leading fairly comfortably, and in your excitement, you forget that when you're driving, you're meant to check both mirrors. Or, well, over both shoulders in this case. On two occasions, Andre Verissimo, racing in the Brazilian Superbike Championship Evolution category, checked behind him at the Autodromo de Goiânia, but failed to see the threat coming from his opposite side. Verissimo had qualified on pole and led from first to last in the race just before Christmas in 2020, but having slowed up on the final straight, could only watch on in horror as he cruised down the home straight and two rivals, pedal to the metal, flew past him. In the less
Did you see that? Right as he put his hands up, he looked over and realized, oh, I just messed up.
celebrated sport of cup stacking, the Capital Open Sports Stacking
Think I've
Championship
seen
in
this one.
Arlington is a big deal. Ji Wei Wu is one of the sport's finest. This particular effort, which is quite mesmerizingly fast, certainly under 6 seconds, would have been the fastest stack of the championship, if not for his failure to properly connect with the finish button at the end. The look of ecstasy and then agony all in the space of a couple of seconds is really quite something.
He forgot to hit the button. That sucks.
Connect with the finish button at
What?
the end. The look of ecstasy and then agony all in the space of a couple of seconds is really quite something. Cyclist Mark Rotherham has become known as a bit of a showman, often hamming up his celebrations for the crowd. At one 6-day event race in Amsterdam in front of a huge crowd in 2016, he paid the price. In this case, Rotherham was so confident he'd got the win that he let his bike drift out to the outside of the velodrome, raised his arms, and watched his opponent, Jeff Hoogland, simply ride around the inside of him to take the race by inches. It would have been an easy win if he just rode on too. Oops. Tennis is so frantic, it's a wonder anyone can ever find the time to celebrate before they've seen the ball disappear far beyond a hittable space. But no, that's not always the case. This rally sees a Turkish athlete hit what looks like an unreturnable shot at an angle across the table and turn slightly to pump her fist. Meanwhile, her opponent flings herself to the ground at the other end, unleashing a very hittable reply that her overconfident opponent is too busy celebrating to bash back. Not her finest moment, we'd bet.
Oops.
Wheel of Fortune is one of those games.
Now those are the type that I like to see. When they get so cocky and arrogant, and then it gets handed to them.
Game shows where you might frequently find yourself screaming answers at the screen, but it's best not to do it when you're on the show. At least not unless you've taken the time to make sure you hit the answer perfectly. In this case, Alex, raising his arms in, well, victory, correctly guessed the phrase declaring victory on a really easy looking puzzle. But in doing so, he also made the game's most cardinal of errors. By adding an "I'm" at the start of the phrase, what he said didn't exactly match the answer, and so made his answer incorrect. He celebrated, realized his mistake, and then watched on as the rather obvious puzzle was solved by the next contestant, minus his mistake.
So he said, I'm declaring victory, and it's not the answer. The answer is declaring victory.
crazy world of people who can perfectly shift their feet in time to music at an astonishing rate has a competitive side, and some people are so good at games like Dance Revolution they can hit fantastic, i.e. perfect timing, on entire long complex tracks. In this clip, a competitor has hit the holy grail, mashing 100% of the correct contact points at the perfect time with his feet, 195 of the 197 necessary moves in this particular track.
Wow.
The last two beats are separated from the rest of the track, and well, he forgets about them, dropping from 100% perfect to a still sparkling but priceless 99.5%. A late mistake that costs €800, and you can sense the pain. In this clip, a golfer is making what is, well, at least at a professional level, a relatively straightforward putt. The short shot looks like it's heading straight in the hole, though perhaps not right down the middle, and in celebration, the player throws his club in a spin into the air. Unfortunately, the ball works its way around the edge of the hole and pops back out. And to compound the extra shot that costs him, the golfer's club arcs into the air and lands straight on the ball as he dives frantically but unsuccessfully after it. That'll be a penalty stroke and another putt that's far harder than it would have been if the club hadn't connected. Not his smartest moment, we suspect.
Nope.
At the Giro Rosa, one of cycling's most prestigious events, Lucy Kennedy led stage 3 by...
There seems to be a lot of these cycling ones where they get carried away and think they've won it.
A distance almost equal to the distance remaining in the stage as she climbed the hill towards the finishing line. Stage wins are critical in events like this in terms of gaining visibility and sponsorship, as well as in the points categories and overall standings. But an exhausted-looking Kennedy threw it away, with the acclaimed Marianne Vos finding the gas to cut past Kennedy and snatch the stage on the line. You can see the moment Kennedy's heart breaks, but she can't help feeling she really could have finished this one off quite comfortably. The NFL is known for its extravagant celebrations. Hell, in these sizable teams, individual contributions can be small over the course of even a full season. So it's part of the game's culture to celebrate wildly when you make an important tackle or gain a few extra yards. Never mind score a touchdown. That culture of wild celebrations can have consequences though, with players injuring themselves in celebration, embarrassingly messing up with the ball, or misreading a situation several times a season. Those injuries are pretty hard to watch, but the worst ones come, as with much of these clips, when the players celebrate but haven't made the play at all. A celebrated failure to make a kick or a key first down or a touchdown catch that's actually out of bounds. We all like to party, but NFL players can be a little too quick on that happy train. But perhaps we all can. Is there any excuse for this stuff, especially in professional sport? Is it a reaction to a moment that's understandable or the worst kind of unprofessional career-defining mistake? Have you ever done something like this? Tell us in the comments.
That was people who celebrated too early. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever done that. There are times I thought I might have won something or whatever, but I don't think I, raised my hands and celebrated and all that stuff. You know, having a dog named Shark at the beach was a big mistake.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hashtag Mean Gene, all that fun stuff. And if you like this video, tell all your friends, leave a comment down below. And if you didn't like it, then just shut up. And I will see you next time.